Asano is a normal young man. His life is turned upside down after discovering that his childhood friend is a spy along with her family, and he is subsequently forced to marry her. In order to avoid being killed by her old brother, the episode begins with the students welcoming Asano and asking him to join them in football practice. Another student tells him to come to karate class with them after school tomorrow. Asano apologizes, saying he can't, as he doesn't want to bother the students. They express frustration, saying he has rejected them once again, worse than a girl pretending to be stupid. They mention studying in the same class for a whole year to get closer to each other and comment on the irony of his name, meaning joy, while his personality is very dark. Another student suggests that Asano may have lost consciousness from stress, having used all his strength to give them his initial response. They had hoped he would improve after all these months, finding it difficult for someone to be so shy. However, Asano thinks to himself that he's not shy, but rather happy to claim these tasks. He wants to talk to them too, but remembers something from the past. Then a girl named Yuzakura approaches him and asks if he rejected someone else again. Calling him, she gives him lunch, mentioning his part-time job and how he hasn't eaten much. She opens it for him to feed him. Meanwhile, Asano's friends watch from afar, expressing jealousy that a girl at school is talking to him. Yuzakura then expresses her concern for him, wondering how things will end up for him. She mentions a teacher, Tanaka, inviting him to join the football team as well. Asano is surprised and asks if she is his mother. This angers her, and she tells him to stop putting on a fake face, advising him to look forward and not disappoint their ancestors. She mentions rehabilitating his communication skills and starts feeding him, which he initially refuses. Suddenly, teacher Hirokawa appears and eats from her hand, which annoys her. She reminds him of his promise not to do it again, and he apologizes, saying his body reacts automatically toward beautiful food. Hirokawa is the school principal, who became so at a very young age, and is a skilled teacher. He comments on Yuzakura's beautiful white hair and expresses a desire to touch her cheeks, which makes her uncomfortable. She threatens to report him if he does. He then tells Asano that if he has nothing to do, he should go to the teacher's office. Asano remembers the teacher's request and acknowledges that he has work to do, so Hirokawa instructs him to come to his office after school, leaving Asano surprised and questioning if he has done something. However, the teacher doesn't respond and leaves. Afterwards, Asano's friends come and greet him, saying they'll see him later. He responds to them, but there's a deep sadness in his eyes as he thinks to himself that he has been like this since that day. He recalls the time when he and his family were riding in the car, playing with his sister inside while it was raining. Suddenly, the car flipped over and crashed. You won't know the value of something important until you lose it, and important things can vanish in an instant. When they disappear, you'll become very scared, even if it means losing important people in your life. He cries heavily, while his girlfriend holds his hand, reassuring him that she'll never leave him alone. Back to reality, Asano has gone to see the teacher, who tells him he just wanted to show him his secret group, the Masomi secret group. Asano thinks the teacher is corrupt and wicked, feeling he should report him somehow. But when he sees the photos, there's a line connecting them. One picture was taken while they were playing, and the other when they were at the park when she was 5 years old. How can a mere teacher possess these photos? Then Yuzakura, the teacher, speaks, mentioning that as long as she protected Masomi from the shadows, since she's attractive, she had to get rid of those annoying pests. She always took care of her. Even yesterday, when the older student insisted on approaching her, she politely asked him not to, but he tormented him and asked him forcefully not to approach her. The teacher continues, threatening Asano, saying he only left him alone because he was her childhood friend. But he now has information he can't keep quiet on. Asano finds himself unable to move, both his feet frozen in terror. Matsuomi is in danger, but he can't save her. As the teacher speaks, suddenly this girl appears, creating a bright light in the room to take Asano and escape with him. Then we see Asano waking up, with his girlfriend Utsuomi beside him, saying good morning and expressing relief that he's okay. When he looks around, he's surprised to see these people around her, so he runs away from them and asks her who they are. She tells him it's a long story she'll tell him later. But first, she introduces everyone. She tells him that these are her siblings. He's shocked, and she explains that this is her sister Sean, and this is Kingo and her older brother Shinsao, and this is Nanao, and the little dog is our guard, Julieta. As you can see, we are a family of spies. She says, It was very hard to keep this secret from you for over 10 years. Asano is even more shocked and says, "Spies? What are you talking about? You can't tell me about this," she replies. "We just deal with weapons and information instead of eggplants and radishes. They're pretty much the same thing, aren't they?" But he looks fearful and says, "They're completely different. Absolutely insane. How could they be the same thing?" Then he thinks he understands, thinking it's a prank. He picks up a gun and says, "This is a gun. It must be a toy," and fires it, but it burns a part of his head. She says, "All right, accept it. This is the truth." Then her younger brother interjects, saying, "Contrary to movies, this is a normal job. Even this magazine states that many suspicious individuals have shifted to this field, and there are many cheap amateur spies. That's why we didn't make much money. Our rating is 4.8 out of 5, and we're ranked first according to the reviews. There are even reviews for spies." Her sister adds that her older brother ranked first on the male spy list and is the most hated. When Asano sees a picture of her older brother, he's shocked because it's Hirokawa, the teacher at school. Her sister explains that he's the eldest son of the family, and besides his personality, he's a skilled spy in their family. He possesses everything, like physical strength in battles and knowledge. Despite being a genius, he's bound to make mistakes from time to time, which has left Motsomi injured since a long time ago. She got the white strand of hair due to the nervous stress from that incident. Since then, all of Asano's attention has been on her, changing his name and job several times. They can't monitor her. He started interfering in her interactions with others, becoming a monster while trying to protect her, making things worse. There's information written about people. You were removed from that list because of your childhood friendship. However, he intends to kill you because you're now a legitimate suspect. We apologize on behalf of our foolish brother." Suddenly, the bell rings and they ask what it is. They say the devil has just entered, referring to her older brother, Hirokawa. She tells him that he's probably here to stab you in the heart. They say it's actually safer for you to stay with us. Her sister says, "I've locked all the rooms in this place. This will give us some time." The other one says, "I've scattered some traps and explosives." Then Fuyutaba speaks up, saying, "To stop someone you can't reason with, you have to use force. We'll show our resistance here and smash him into pieces." She says his win rate was 5-1. There's an 82 chance that one of us will need about half a year to recover, and there's a 25 chance that this house will explode. But that's okay. We'll do some cleaning up afterward. After hearing all this, Asano becomes very confused and afraid. He says, "Is all this my fault? Isn't there another way?" She reassures him, saying, "It's our problem, not yours. Don't worry about it." Then she adds, "I think there's another way for you to stay alive." He asks, "What's this other way?" She replies, "You and Motsomi should marry. But from the Yuzakura, there's a rule that prohibits killing anyone from the family. Your life will be safe." But her brother says that idiot isn't dumb enough to break such a strong rule. Although the usual procedure involves going to a government office for official papers and making promises in a church, the Yuzakura family's procedures only require a ring ceremony. Each member of the Yuzakura family wears a Sakura ring, and this ring is divided into halves. When the other half is given to the partner, the marriage is considered valid. You'll become a member of the Yuzakura family. Then she continues, "I'm not trying to downplay the importance of this. I know you were childhood friends. If there's a legitimate partner, that idiot might return to his senses and leave his sister's problems. But these are all my hopes for your protection, and for protecting my little sister. Don't you think this is a suitable choice?" In his mind, he wonders about Matsumi's feelings and remembers his family, the accident. But Matsumi interrupts their conversation and says she won't marry Asano. She apologizes to her sister and says, "I'm sorry, I know you're thinking about me, but you must understand that Asano lost his family in the past. He's been struggling with that pain more than most people until now. He can't talk to people, and I can't sleep because of that pain. How can we ask someone who has experienced the pain of losing family to join our family so simply? This is what I can do." Botoba apologizes and says, "That's all I can do." Thus, they reiterate their plan to crush their brother, and Mutsumi says to Asano, "I'm sorry for involving you in our problems." Then we find the sisters discussing how their plan should be, and they're surprised when they see him sitting among them, asking who they're planning to crush. Everyone is shocked at how quickly he transitioned into their plan. He tells them, "I can't believe you didn't include me. You have to make your brother a part of this." Shiso asks, "Didn't you replace the wallpaper to set up the traps in the house?" Fotoba explains that it was too bothersome to avoid them, so she broke all of them. Then the eldest sister warns him, saying, "I'll warn you once. Stay away from these two." He replies, "I don't think so. There's no guarantee he won't hurt her. It's my duty to punish those who pose a threat to her." Then she grabs him and throws him to the ground. Then their other brother, Nanao, uses his strength and delivers a powerful blow with his superhuman hand, but it seems to have no effect on him, and he begins to counterattack and defeats them, all because of his steel threads. He tells them, "Since I'm busy, let's play later. Let's stop this training. Hand over this guy to me. I'll cut this whole house up just like I did with this glass." Then her sister speaks up and says that his special weapon is the iron spider threads. She tells him that while he evades their attacks by running away, she starts attacking him. But we find that he has stopped her attack and started restraining her against the wall. Then he tells her not to move too much, Fotoba, or her body will be cut into pieces. If she does that, it will be bad for her because she's using Jujutsu. Then her sister, Sean, says that the chances will rise to 70 in this situation, so they should go and she'll deal with him. He tells her that her level is not suitable for him, Shion, and she replies that even if her level is not competitive with his, she will eliminate him. The player must enjoy the fight with all he has. Then she starts deploying all her small private aircraft and orders them to attack him, but it seems futile. After that, Asano and his companion arrive at the scene. She tells him to hide in this closet so he won't be found. She assures him that she won't go anywhere. Instead, she will protect him. Then she closes the closet on him. Afterward, we find her brother after he has destroyed the small warplanes, and he's heading toward them. He says, "Okay, come here, Mutsume. I don't want to dirty you with his blood." We find Asano behind her. Then Mutsume starts attacking him, but he dodges her attacks. Then he removes her mask, revealing that he's Kingo, her brother. He says to her, "What a wonderful disguise, but you need to make your disguises last longer. Then you'll see the other disguised person behind." Then he gestures to Asano and says, "Hello, Mutsume." He asks her, "Where did you hide Asano?" Then we see her removing her mask and telling him to stop, please. He says he'll stop. She's lost instead. They'll prevent her from leaving the house because the strange bugs are attached to her, which means her brother has lost and failed. From now on, he'll protect her more and more. The outside world is dangerous, so she won't leave. She won't need a smartphone because the internet is dangerous, and anything else that causes harm will be removed. School, friends, games, love, everything is unnecessary. We'll get rid of them so we can live in a safe and peaceful family. When I think about it, my soul is refreshed. Then he continues, "That day in the past when I almost lost, you will never happen again. I promised myself that I won't accept anyone." But suddenly, Asano opens the closet and appears before him, telling him to keep his hands off Mutsume. However, he says that these are family matters, and he shouldn't interfere. Asano tells him that this man resembles him a lot, and he's afraid of losing someone close to him. Then he tells Mutsume, "Let me protect you in the way your sister told us." He reminds her that she promised she wouldn't disappear. She agrees, then removes half of the ring from her hand and throws it to him. However, at the last moment, he can't catch it because her brother has activated its feature, the spider threads, which prevent him from grabbing it. Her brother says that it was imminent, and Fotoba always shares a lot of information just in case something happens. However, Asano begins to grasp the ring despite his bleeding hand. Thanking Mutsume for protecting him, he admits that he used to be a useless young man, and from now on, he'll protect her. He takes the ring, cuts the threads with his hand, puts on the ring, and promises always to protect her. It's an honor for him to be here. Then their sisters appear, but they find that Asano has put on the ring. She goes to him, hugs him, and thus they are married. He has protected her from her older brother, and now he can't kill him because he's her brother-in-law now. Then Fotoba goes to the eldest brother, Kyoichiro, and tells him that now is not the time to look disappointed. He should congratulate the young couple. Everyone congratulates them, saying it was wonderful. Then Fotoba tells her brother that he should teach him how to protect Mutsume. And thus, the first episode of this anime ends. Let us know your opinion in the comments. Is this anime great or not? But before you leave, don't forget to press the bell button and activate notifications to receive updates on anime. The episode begins with Asano, asleep on the bed, remembering what happened the previous night and talking to Mutsume. He thanks her for what she did for him and asks about her older brother's well-being. She reassures him not to worry about him and mentions that she will make her older brother realize the truth later, because he is currently unconscious and unaware. She urges them that time is running late, so they should leave. Later, we see him asleep on the bed, believing it was a dream, but he is surprised to see Kaishiro ready to kill him with a knife, greeting him with good morning, Asano, and launching an attack. Asano dodges his strike at the last moment and wonders why Kaishiro is there. Kaishiro tells him that this is the wake-up call for the infamous Yuzakura family, reminding him that as a spy, he should sleep with one eye open dodged. We see Mutsuomi preparing breakfast for Asano and entering the room to find Kaishiro torturing him with his sharp spider threads. She demands to know what he's doing, and he explains they are practicing morning exercises. She gets angry with him and orders him to release Asano. Afterward, Kaishiro checks his watch and insists they must escape now. He carries them and swiftly leaves through the window, only to find the house destroyed shortly after, revealing there was a timed bomb. He tells them that he'll set aside his grudge for a moment to inform them about the Yuzakura's mission in life, which is to protect Mutsuomi Yuzakura. Then, Mutsuomi takes Asano's hand and tells him it's time to go. Later, we see them in the car, and Kaishiro speaks, mentioning he just received a report from Shinzo that the bomb was planted in the kitchen. Asano questions why there was a bomb in his house, to which Kaishiro replies that the target was Mutsuomi. When asked why it was planted in his house, he answers that it's surely because of their knowledge of Asano's relationship with Mutsuomi. He then shows him on the phone that their marriage is no longer a secret and has spread on social media. Asano asks why spies use social media and why they pursue Mutsuomi. Kaishiro simply replies that it's because she's the head of the 10th clan, leaving Asano shocked. Then Kaishiro continues his speech, saying that the roots of the Yuzakura family trace back to the ninja era of the Edo period. They produced generations of individuals with extraordinary powers, but in each generation, there's one person born naturally. That person is the head of the clan, the leader. They may not possess extraordinary powers like the rest of the members, but their descendants will undoubtedly inherit those extraordinary powers. Thus, only this person can pass on the genes carrying the Yuzakura family's talent. Essentially, the leader passes on this talent, and the other members use their talents to protect their leader. This is how the Yuzakura family has succeeded. As the legitimate leader of the Yuzakura family, Mutsuomi is its lifeline. However, we don't really care about our family's social status. We just want Mutsuomi to live the life she desires. He tells Asano that they have discussed this matter before, and he can't do it alone. Everyone in this family is willing to put their lives on the line for the family's affairs. Then he must also do his part. It's truly admirable, but why is she with this stupid boy? Then he continues saying, you're now learning about Mutsuomi's circumstances. In the end, she will take over the leadership of the Yuzakura family in the criminal world. That's why she has to live a normal life now and gain an understanding of the outside world's culture. But there are those who bear grudges against her, envy us, and want to exploit us. Mutsuomi is exposed to all this hatred. She always dances with death in her hands. That's why protecting her is our family's duty. So I'll show you our craft today. This is just the beginning. This is your first task. After they are surprised to be attacked by rockets from outside, they find 2 armed vehicles with soldiers firing at them. However, their car is armored, and the bullets don't penetrate its glass. Kaishiro reassures Asano that the car is armored and then speeds up the vehicle. They find that the leader of these thieves is wielding a massive weapon and starts attacking them again. Kaishiro speaks to driver, asking if he can drive smoothly so he doesn't spill the tea. They find out that the one driving is Julius, the little cat. When Asano realizes this, he's incredulous, but they find out that this cat is incredibly skilled at driving and dodges all their attacks, making Kaishiro lose his patience and start pouring the tea. He climbs onto the roof of the car, and when the soldiers see him on top, they start shooting at him. However, he deflects all their shots with his sturdy threads. Then, he begins attacking them, swiftly slicing through both vehicles and causing them to explode. Afterward, he re-enters the car and says to Asano, "Did you see that? That's our family's duty, protecting Mutsuomi." He then pulls out a pistol, and when Asano sees it, he is shocked to realize it's a real gun. Kaishiro tells him not to worry, that if he kills someone, they'll cover for him, so he shouldn't hesitate to use it. But Mutsuomi intervenes, telling him to stop right there, as assassinations are usually done through bombs or poison, rendering the gun useless. Asano is surprised by her words and asks if she's always exposed to such attacks. She confirms and continues, saying her older brother has now given him this task. He hands the gun to Asano, explaining that it belongs to the assassin Tamaya, who is currently chasing her and is also the one who planted the bomb in his house. Tamaya is a notorious bomb maker who has previously earned a bounty for killing some terrorists. Asano is astonished by this revelation, realizing Tamaya has helped him before but now seeks to kill his little sister. Kaishiro tells Asano not to underestimate Tamaya. Although he has a bad personality, he will bother him with some light bombs before finishing his task with his own special bomb. Then he holds Asano's face and instructs him to protect Mutsuomi and to take his precautions so he won't get hurt. He warns that if he wants to regret the day he was born, he should ignore this advice. Asano realizes that this is the start of his first mission, to protect Mutsuomi. Later, at school, Asano rushes ahead of Mutsuomi to check all the areas of the school for any bombs or traps. When students see him, they're surprised because it's unlike him. Then, his friends see him and greet him, asking what's wrong with him, if he's in a bad mood or something. They comment on how strange he looks today, finding him genuinely terrifying. Later in class, Asano announces that he didn't find any bombs in the classroom and begins searching everywhere. He's surprised to find a tweet from the bummer Tamaya stating that the second bomb is in its place. But as he looks at his phone, a ball hits him in the face, followed by losing sight of his friends. Worried, he wonders if they're okay. But then he's startled to see a ghostly figure in the school, prompting him to rush towards it. However, he finds the teacher, who asks him what he's doing there. He replies with nothing and then leaves. After that, we see Mutsuomi and her friends eating. Asano thinks to himself, Mutsuomi made me change my mind about many things. She doesn't eat anything given to her immediately, and she tries not to walk alone anywhere. These precautions must have been ingrained in her throughout her life. She's been struggling all this time, doing all of this by herself. All I ever thought about was myself. I didn't fail just in understanding, but also in supporting her. Later, Asano's friends come and give him a piece of chocolate. He takes it without blushing or feeling embarrassed, surprising them. They comment on how unusual it is, since he usually sweats or blushes when they talk to him or when he loses consciousness. He does start to feel embarrassed afterward and asks if they want to go to the nurse, but she's absent today. He thinks to himself that he can't lose consciousness, especially for the sake of his wife's safety. Later, we see him unconscious and beginning to wake up with Mutsuomi beside him. He tells her that the nurse's room was closed, so he went to the vice principal's office. She thanks him for protecting her and mentions how he was talking to people since yesterday, which is unusual for him. She admires his progress, saying that although they're small steps, she believes he's improving. Asano asks if she's satisfied with him, admitting that despite knowing her since childhood, he had no idea of the burden she carried until now. He confesses that he can't even take care of himself properly, and that their marriage only happened because he selfishly wanted to protect her. Mutsuomi scolds him, saying he's too negative and that he misunderstood. She chose him, not the other way around, despite his family being chaotic spies. And with the danger that she might die at any moment, he still cares about her feelings. She thanks him for marrying her. Later, they hear a whistling sound, and Asano realizes there's a bomb in the room. It explodes, shocking Asano's friends, who assume it's just an experiment in the lab or something similar. We then see Mutsuomi's siblings watching the explosion, wondering if Mutsuomi will be okay. After that, we see Asano and Mutsuomi, who managed to survive the bomb. Asano wonders how the perpetrator knew they were in this room, as they came here spontaneously. But then he remembers that since they know about his relationship with Mutsuomi, they also know about his fear of people. So his coming here would have been expected, just like this morning. They anticipated his movements to target Mutsuomi. Then, Asano is surprised to find a small bomb attached to him. The voice tells him, "I am indeed the bomb that will kill Mutsuomi." And he realizes there are only 5 seconds left until it explodes. He looks at the door and finds it closed. So he quickly goes and throws himself out of the building, saying, "This is the only way. I'm grateful to end my work early." But at the last moment, Kyoshiro comes and saves him. He explains that the spark, Tamaya's small bomb, is lightweight but powerful. However, it has 2 flaws. It takes several hours to charge itself using the target's body heat, and its design is very simple, making it easily stoppable by a thread. He thanks Asano and tells him, "Well done for your observation. As a reward, I'll tell you this, in this world, you may doubt yourself, but there's one thing you can trust, and that's family. Yes, I want to kill you, but I won't let you die until I do. So you can put your life on the line and give your utmost effort for our beloved Mutsume. He then tells Asano that he'll pull him up now. But if he accidentally slips and falls to his death, it wasn't intentional. Afterwards, they ask him what he'll do with the bomb, and he replies that he'll return it to its owner. Then, their siblings enter with the owner of the explosives. They say they heard the bomb's sound and came to this place. Then, they throw him to the ground, and Kyoshiro wraps the bomb around him and throws it away, causing it to explode. Everyone watches this scene. Strangely, as Tameya dies, he tweets, "I've been blown up now, and it seems I'll die." Thus, the second episode of this legendary anime ends. But before you go, don't forget to activate the bell notification and hit the like button to receive updates on future episodes. The following day, Tio experiences a nightmare in which he is unable to fulfill his duty to protect Matsumi. However, upon awakening, he realizes that this was all only a dream. Subsequently, he begins to recall all that transpired the previous day. When Tio gets up after the bombings, he steps on Goliath to alley bail by mistake. As a result of his carelessness, TU suffers the consequences. Matsumi bandages his arm and tells him that he had asked Goliath to watch out for him, as his brother might attack him again, exactly like that. Tio becomes concerned when Misami begins to caress Goliath with a particular force. However, she reassures him that Goliath would never attack her. Tio then goes to Futaba and asks her to help him become stronger, and she gives him assistance right away. They had originally intended to train him gradually, but Tio says that this approach is ineffective after learning about it. Futaba spins the boy at the speed of light and explains that the process is slow, but he wants to get stronger for her, because he nearly died in his previous attempt to save Matsumi. His evolution will take even longer for him being a human and her having the Akira talent. Having said that, Futaba makes it apparent that he needs to control his agitated feelings. Ultimately, if he keeps them, he won't be able to make it through the training. Tio becomes excited when she suggests doing a full workout Ikura style with him because she thinks he can benefit from his intense feelings for Misami. But Futaba places a condition on the proposal, and that's called, since his house was totally destroyed by bombs, he will need to live in that mansion for a month in this instance. Consequently, they will take a 1-month break before he actually starts. Tio chooses to approach her after his training in order to express his gratitude for her willingness to mentor him, but he gets into trouble for doing so. Futaba apologizes for not alerting her sooner and clarifies that the mansion is full of traps and is used for espionage training. So living there can be considered training in and of itself. Tao must thus master these basic traps as soon as possible. Tao avoids being pierced by one of the traps, but manages to hold on before being pierced by the blaze beneath his feet. Futaba tells him that he intentionally set off an explosion in his room the following day, warning him that if he doesn't, he won't be able to progress for full training and that he will never be able to get up quickly enough to do so at any time. Tio is astounded that Matsumi can live there without experiencing such difficulties. Matsumi claims that the house's traps don't work on her, and Cheyenne clarifies that anyone who successfully enters the house is likewise safe from attack. Tio is perplexed to hear this. So Cheyenne goes on to explain that since the computer controls the house's traps, if he can successfully avoid them all and prove that he's a more skilled user than the computer, he will be granted the ability to turn the traps on and off. Cheyenne describes this benefit as a bonus, if that makes sense, after passing every test he receives, but for the time being, it informs him that he needs to eat in order to stay nourished. But make him gain. He tells him there's a certain amount of poison in the food, tolerance against poisons, at which point Teo frantically makes his way to the restaurant, which Cheyenne explains is necessary in order to enter the space. He needs to unscrew the lock and enter a password that is, incidentally, changed once every minute. Thus, after saying good morning to Matsumi, Kyo returns, treating her like a cow and complimenting Tio as well. His demanding daily life in the house of Yakira begins when he asks for assistance to use the restroom, and he progressively gains proficiency in various domains after that. He tells that he received a very heavy shirt from the Okura as part of his training, but the boys in his class see that he is obviously exhausted when he gets to school, as if he were about to have a seizure. He then returns home exhausted. When he sees that Misami is working late, he quickly gives her a blanket welcome. He uses this as an opportunity to practice shooting at his side outside the house, but he discovers that even up close, his aim is terrible. After giving it some more thought, he realizes that even turning on the TV is a very challenging task, so he returns his focus. Upon arriving at the mission and deciding to attempt a few more shots, Masami approaches him and suggests that he take a short break from his training. After they enter for tea, Tao apologizes to Masami for waking her up with the gunshots, and she asks what happened. She tells him not to lie to her because the Masumi herself knows that she is the reason behind all of his effort, even if he wasn't trying too hard. The boy chokes on his tea upon hearing this. Tao responds that this isn't quite accurate, but Matsumi reiterates that the boy works extremely hard because she remembers them from their early years and claims that they were never that close, but that all changed the moment they started elementary school together. When he thinks back on that time in his life, Matsumi recalls the issues his silver hair caused him. When several girls came up to her and asked if Matsumi was trying to draw attention with his unusual hairstyle, he replied that his hair color had vanished. However, one of the girls loses her cool and claims that coloring her hair was all that was required once more, and the issue would go away. But Tio intervenes, taking the scissors from the girl's hand and starting to cut his own hair. Matsumi tells him to stop, and the girls, alarmed by the spectacle, leave. Tio then explains that his advisor advised him to cut his bangs and facial hair. The next day, he returns to live in the house, dodging all the traps. When practicing his shot again, Shinzo notices he's holding the gun the wrong way, so he corrects Tao's posture. For his part, he says that was the best time to do this. As for her, he asks Masami to keep him informed in case other people are threatening her and returning to the present. She explains that he has been protecting her since that time, and clarifies that you should hold the gun at your highest point on your body. In this manner, both during training and after firing, the weapon will not recoil as much. In addition, Cheyenne gives Shinzo the performance data that Teo had asked her to examine. Teo thanks them both. Cheyenne shares Teo's latest triumph, stating that he can now turn on the TV. However, he expresses interest in Shinzo's peculiar behavior, and Cheyenne responds by telling him that he is the most Shinzo and lazy of all the brothers, which explains why he spends most of his time living tucked away in that garbage can. Shinzo argues in his defense, however, that Cheyenne only has a room. She then shifts the topic and recalls that Tio needed to go talk to En about how to handle the poisonous gases, so he rushes in her direction. Then, as Cheyenne observes that Tio is progressing faster than usual, indicating that he has a lot of talent for that, Shinzo remarks to his sister that Tio really does have a lot of talent. Meanwhile, Kengo gripes to Futaba about the weight of the books. She says that he is carrying because she didn't wash the dishes that morning and is punishing him for continuing. After discovering Tio's training, Kengo makes an attempt to break free from his commitment. But as soon as he tries to talk to him, Futaba stops him and tells him to keep up with their responsibilities. The following day, Taiyo successfully deals with the laser trap. Be a little better. He arrives at the kitchen swiftly. Masami is impressed by how easy he is finding it to navigate the hallways and stairs, and Tio explains that this is because he has been there for 3 whole weeks. However, after consuming the poison milk, Tio rushes to the restroom once more, and Cheyenne observes that despite having been there for 3 weeks, he is still having trouble opening that door. When Kongo and the others approach him, Tio Fallen is lying on the ground. Breathing heavily, the boy wakes up in a room under the supervision of En, and they discover that Teo has passed out from a fever brought on by her extreme mental exhaustion. Futaba continues by saying that she has already alerted Matsumi to his predicament. For Teo to heal as quickly as possible, he must simply rest. Though Futaba had proposed to him, he claims he is all right and will stay in the house until next week. She clarifies that this is how he's going. He has no chance of survival at all, and Futaba goes on to say that extraordinary effort is required in order to achieve extraordinary results. She also berates her other brothers in this for devising this suicide mission for him, but Teo responds that they haven't. It wasn't his fault. Everyone tried to stop him from doing that, but he refused to give up on trying his hardest. Even though doing so might endanger his life, Tio wanted to be able to protect Matsumi as soon as possible. And when he heard this, Futaba struck him. Fad adds, if he is genuinely eager to protect me, he has to understand that your training process will be slow and without shortcuts. He is essentially saying that he won't be able to protect her if he can't first protect her. That being said, she gives him an old book of hers and asks him to study it so that he won't be completely incapacitated and do nothing for the rest of his life. When Futaba leaves the room, she realizes that the boy is not only alive because of his skill or diligence, but also because of her emotion. From this, she concludes that the boy's love for Matsumi must be on the verge of madness. As Teo recovers and eventually opens the bathroom door, everyone celebrates by puking, and she begins to think that the boy might be a good fit to keep her sister safe. However, after observing all of this fervor, when Kyoko remarks that there's no need to celebrate, his wedding ring suddenly begins to glow. Futaba explains that this is because the object is simply responding to the house's wave magnets, indicating that the house has finally recognized him as a member of the Akura family. She approaches him and expresses her gratitude for all of his efforts over the past month. Teo is thrilled to hear that she will be giving him intense Akura training. Teo's life becomes even more complicated when Shinzo decides to make the traps more difficult. However, Shinzo appears to give her a 100-kilogram shirt. Go from your like, and I'll see you later. The episode begins with Asano enters the kitchen, attempting to put on her underwear. While Mutsumi cooks breakfast once more, she gives him a strange look and tells him that regardless of how unsettling his strange fantasies and desires are, he should be concerned about them. She refused to get rid of him. He says he just wants to practice his disguises, and that this is all a misunderstanding. Unexpectedly, a stunning blonde woman asks if everything is okay as she appears in the doorway. While Asano is unaware of her identity, Mutsumi recognizes Kino's disguise right away. He tries to creep Ano out by smothering him right away, but Masami tells him to stop right there and leave him alone. Later that day, he meets up with Shinzo, who is about to embark on a solo mission. He also shows up in the kitchen and asks Masami for a farewell kiss before he leaves, but this is too much for her, and she smacks both Kango and him on the head. When Oano inquires about the mission's level of difficulty, he responds that it's low, since all he needs to do is gather information about a counterfeit money operation, which shouldn't take too long. Asano wishes him luck and walks off with Masami to their school. On the way there, a ball that is moving quickly nearly runs Asano over, but he doesn't even look. Later in the afternoon, he snatches the ball and tosses it back with amazing force. When Mutsumi informs him that he is unaware of it yet, they both go to the roof to eat lunch. But because of his training, he now walks so quietly that people are beginning to refer to him as a ninja. She then asks if he is available after school today since she needs help with her work. Sun clearly agrees and returns home, where she sits down at her desk and begins stamping a mountain of paperwork while giving Asano instructions, as he brings in more and more documents, which she analyzes quickly and discovers errors and other issues in. She makes Asano her pawn and instructs him to send emails to investors to increase their stocks, telling Asano to disregard the fake divorce papers he made in an attempt to end their marriage. She becomes enraged and drags Ano into Kino's room after noticing that one of Kango's reports appears to be complete. He has done this multiple times. When Masami tells him to come out, he appears magically on top of his clove mount, and she instructs him to finish writing his report and turn it in right away. The room is so full of his clothes that they are unable to see anything. Not taking her seriously, Kango tells Masami to quit behaving like a grandma and just begins to eat his sushi. After realizing that he is in danger and jumping out of the mount to escape the room, Kango becomes enraged with her and takes her handcuffs to give him a Yakira-style punishment. Asano's quicker and instantly blocks Kango's path because of his training, but Kango is more cunning and makes him lower his guard by turning into Masami. Then, as he rushes outside, a furious Mamie sets off the house's hibernation mode, totally cutting it off from the outside world and causing enormous walls to burst forth all around. She informs Asano that once this mode is turned on, there is no way out of this house. Shinzo, meanwhile, crawls through the air vent and sees the massive operation headed by a millionaire who has already distributed 60 of his counterfeit money. As he passes through the ducts, he learns that the individuals working with them are highly intelligent individuals who created all of these safety precautions. Wearing his Apple Vision Pro, he dissimilarly behaves in real life. He can see through the containers to find a bunch of fake money, which makes his glasses useful. After lowering the hatch, he discovers a hidden case that he can break into and obtains a framed photo of a potentially crucial note before he can take any further action. However, he starts to flee back at the Akira house as soon as an alarm goes off. Masami begins going through each of their rooms one by one. She enters her room and looks for his signs with an infrared device, but nothing is detected. Asano is strange in how many hobbies she pursues, while he examines the most recent painting she created. They next go to Shin's room, where she is engaged in a physically demanding game that she is not very good at. After that, they proceed to the Buckhead's head's room, where he threatens to blow up. When they eventually make it to Kingo's room, if he recognizes him, they discover that Emsum's photos cover the entire space. When Asano asks Mutsumi if Kango could have escaped, she responds that it is not possible because the house is under lockdown. When Asano hears something and turns to look, the other siblings unexpectedly meet up with Mutsumi and Asano, asking if they were able to locate Kango. It turns out that Kino was hiding in the picture frame when he saw Melissa's. Asano chases after Kino as he quickly flees and turns a corner, but he suddenly screams as he falls. He's lying on the ground when Mutsumi rushes over to see how he's doing. He scratches his head, saying that Kengi threw the frame at him and fled through the wall cavity. Matsumi shouts that he must have managed to get past the lockdown, and she furiously returns to Kino's room, promising to lift it as soon as Asano enters. However, she hands him cuffs right away, saying that she is not that foolish and that she is aware that Kango is currently impersonating Asano. She says that since there's no way out of the lockdown, Kango must have taken Asano's place and hidden him in the hopes that Mutsumi would lift the lockdown, allowing him to flee. After admitting defeat and taking off his mask, Kango and her begin searching for the necessary paperwork. On that particular day, Asano consumes the delicious curry prepared by Masami. When he inquires about the secret ingredient, Masami tells him that it is cyanide. Asano gets sick right away and calls himself out to answer a call. When he answers the phone, Shinzo is screaming for help and is on a video call with him. He is crying that he ended up in a gunfight but didn't anticipate there would be so many guys and that all his bullets have run out. She informs Asano that although Shinzo is a very skilled spy, he is completely dependent on his weapons, and without them, he turns into a huge win. Furthermore, he is without weapons. He agrees right away when she asks if Aino can bring his weapons to him. He enters the extremely secure building and makes his way through the corridors while wearing an outfit and carrying a small bag. Sadly, he is not quick enough and is apprehended by a guard who places a gun to his head. Recalling his training, he punches the gun back and locks his arm while slamming his face. Several more guards show up as he uses his elbow hearing to investigate the scene. He uses his knee to slam one in the face, but the other guard catches him. When the third guard tries to stab him, his clothes deflect the blow, allowing him to punch the man out of the way and break the final guard's nuts to win, to his astonishment. When another guard shows up, he rapidly takes the gun Shinzo gave him and fires it. A powerful electric bolt is directed towards him, instantly making him hesitant. When he eventually locates Shinzo, he grasps onto him tightly and expresses gratitude for the guns, which he keeps rubbing against his face. As more guards burst into the room, Shinzo's demeanor abruptly shifts, and he quickly gets up and shoots each one of them. Second, he leaves the room and takes care of all the goons with great ease before giving Asano the frame note. He shoots the last group of goons in midair and throws a grenade at them. As they begin to leave the building, he takes Asano with him, but Asano gets shot in the leg. He is shot by a sniper who orders Shinzo to put down his weapons as he collapses to the ground and begins to bleed out. Asano remembers that Shinzo can make anything into a weapon if it has a strong grip. So Shinzo obeys the orders to make sure Asano leaves and drops the gun. He then hurls a fork at him, which he catches and fires at the sniper's barrel, setting it off target. This allows him ample time to pull his gun and kill the enemy, thereby sparing Aso's life. By the time dusk arrives, thanking him for saving his life, Shinzo turns to walk back while toting an Asano on his back. Thanking him in return, Asano states that he would have perished if Shinzo hadn't saved him from certain death. In the meantime, a hobo breaks into another facility and uses a hammer to beat every guard there. When they all refuse to reveal the location of their leader, the hobo bludgeons them to death while removing the picture of his next target, who happens to be Ao. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for part 5. And don't forget to watch this brand new anime about a failed hero who gets attacked by a parasite and turns into a monster while pretending to be normal. The episode begins with Asano is walking down the street while talking to Mutsumi there. He sees that a car parks nearby, leaving a man who is looking at him, so Asano decides to say goodbye to Mutsumi to hang up the call. This guy knows that he is. Ayano introducing himself as the Commissioner Seiji Joto, who calls asking him to accompany him once they are in the interrogation room. Seiji shows Sano something that was published on the dark web. It is a photo of him when he infiltrated that private property. This is what he takes by surprise. Well, now his activities are being spread on the internet when normally all the activities of the Yusakura family are hidden. C also shows him that he has possession and use of a firearm, illegal entry to private property, participation in a chase on the street, and that he blew up his school. But the strangest thing about all this is that he has absolutely nothing on his accomplices, even though these crimes clearly exceed the abilities of a child. So he must do things that he does not know, for example, that he belonged to a secret organization. If he has extenuating circumstances, we'll easily free him, and if he knows something, it would be best if he said it. Ano understands that he is proposing that she betray them all, but he immediately answers that he doesn't know anything about it. He tells her that he doesn't need to respond so hastily, asking her to drink this glass of water and think things through. Asano sees with total clarity that he places something in the glass. So he accuses him of having put truth serum there, but he clarifies that it is just the minerals, and that it will do him good, something that is not convincing, not at all healthy. Because of the way she responds, she suddenly forces him to drink the water, which makes him choked due to the suddenness, moving away to spit without the water. Seeing him, thanks to a plastic bag that he has stuffed in his mouth being a ninja item, right after he tries to attack him with a hammer, but Asano reacts quickly by moving away, falling next to some black bags from which blood begins to drip. He explains that he is a drug trafficker who has destroyed the lives of thousands of people with his money and contacts. He has managed to evade justice all this time, but he has been caught. As a police officer, he does not have to protect those who break the law by declaring that, and then traps Sano against the wall. He warns him that if he refuses to talk, he must interrogate his friends at school. At that moment, Juno notices a thread hanging in the air, and with that he understands something. Then he tells Sei that he doesn't know anything, and even if he did know, he wouldn't say anything to a sick person like him. Not even if his life depended on him. This guy likes his look, but still decides to throw another blow with his hammer, which Sano dodges and therefore ends up hitting the wall behind him. The impact causes the wall to be destroyed, and you can see that Kayokiro was listening to them from that side with the help of his threads. What he does is approach to tell Sei that he is someone who's incorrigible, being friendly. So he doesn't ask them for an explanation, since he doesn't understand anything, and Cairo tells him that Sei was a high school classmate and how he helped him with his police investigations. He is the one who hides the activities of the Yosakura family with a more serious look. Seiji asks her how it went. She responds that Asano did not betray his allies and did not react to their provocations, so he has achieved it, wanting to work with him. Then Kyokuro tells him that he needs a favor, but what he does is tell him that he must go on a mission, leaving him alone to finish that matter. Asano returns to class, looking quite exhausted and very sleepy, which worries Mutsumi. At that moment, it seems that, and Cairo in the classroom, still being JIR's vice principal Kyo there. He notifies everyone that the teacher was absent today due to an urgent matter, so he is going to replace him for this modern Japanese class. Then he asks Sano, what's wrong with him, because he looks like he can't sleep, although that question doesn't cause him any fun. As the class progresses, Asano feels that his eyelids are heavier than weights. He can no longer bear to sleep. At the same moment that he closes his eyes, a piece of chalk flies towards him at an incredible speed. But when he barely notices him, he doesn't move away, and you can see that this thing goes through the wall, as if it were a bullet, and Takirai begins to talk to him by hitting the blackboard with the chalk using the Morse code. In this way, he tells him, comments that a spy must learn to control his sleep rhythm with half of his brain asleep. Dolphins and migratory eels can remain in a constant state of alert, and humans can also achieve this with constant training. And the fact is that at the age of 15, he acquired the ability to sleep completely. Your threads will analyze your heart rate, and if it detects that you have fallen asleep, it will wake you up with a stroke of chalk at the speed of sound, something that does not please you healthy, since that would kill you, also speaking in Morse code. It says he can't believe that he trains him during class. Mutsumi agrees with him, asking his brother to calm down, because torturing Sano is the only thing he cares about. Also using the Morse code to communicate with them, when he sees that Sano is surprised that he is Morse, he tells him that he has been part of a family of spies for 17 years, so it is normal that you know these kinds of things. On the other hand, Cairo is happy that his dear sister starts a conversation in Morse code with him and that he adores his older brother. A lot for that, but Mutsumi, all angry, tells him that he is too disgusting and overloads Asano. He also thanks him for his support, but lets him know that he will be fine, except for passing this basic training with honors at the moment of saying that Kyokito asks him for how long he will continue boasting, followed by, but he places a special pill on the desk, which he hits hard with the eraser, spreading a cloud of dust throughout the room. This drowsiness drug reaches Sano and the other students, who they fall completely asleep. However, Mutsumi reacts quite quickly by putting on his oxygen mask, asking Kiro to stop. He notices that San did not fall asleep, so he throws one of those chalks at him again with that enormous power. What happens is that San does not respond with a shot from his ray gun, protecting himself from that dangerous projectile. Mutsumi is glad that he is awake, although he quickly realizes that, in reality, he is asleep, which is why he moved in his dream, and Okiro understands that he has reached the semi-conscious state, ignoring Mutsumi's complaints, to whom he explains that he is doing this for her and for him after telling him that he threw a large amount of chalk towards Sano, who dodged each one of them. Even though he was asleep protecting himself from some with his gun at his side, in the end, the two end up in an incessant fight, where Kyokairo does not stop shooting him with chalk and Asano keeps dodging incessantly when he sees this terrifying scene. Mutsumi worries that Ano is becoming less and less human days later. She comments that this state being semi-conscious, it was just a stroke of luck and nothing has happened since then, but he is still sleepwalking. And you can see that one night he went out to walk down the hallway, scaring poor Shinzo Asano to death. Now, having a slightly strange habit more forward, Asano keeps reading a spy magazine where the subject of relationships between spies is discussed, giving as a curious fact that 90% of marriages between spies end in divorce, supposedly due to work overload. At that moment, Mutsumi approaches to give him some tea, and upon seeing her, he takes the opportunity to ask her if she is free today. He is immediately interrupted by a call from an unknown number, which he answers to see that it is Seiji, who tells him that it is time to go to the mission, so he must leave, immediately sending him the address to the place where he must go and who will contact him later. After that, he hangs up the phone, and without having any other choice, he apologizes like Mutsumi having to go on this urgent mission. The place where he is going is to the amusement park there, and he calls again to explain that a man and a woman with illegal weapons are roaming the park, whom he must find and stop as soon as their appearance continues to investigate, and that whatever happens, he must keep an eye on any suspicious person. Ending the call, Anatan is not surprised by Mutsumi, who tells him that she spoke with Sei to attend this mission, while if they go together, they will look less suspicious. She also shows him 3 couples that look suspicious, asking him not to worry, because she also knows how to defend herself. Thinking about it, a little Sana sees that maybe this is a good opportunity to have a good time with her. At that moment, she sees that the couple behind doesn't stop flirting between the two of them, deciding to copy that, telling Mutsumi that her outfit is incredible. Betting that it's easy to kick with him calmly, she tells him that's the way. It is because it makes his movements easier, which hurts Sano, because he just plays along. One of the suspicious couples walks away, so they decide to follow them to see what they do. It turns out that they get on the roller coaster, and when the attraction begins, you can only see that the subject is not enjoying it. While San does not fall asleep at the end, he ends up apologizing to Mutsumi for having fallen asleep, and then they see that the couple they follow are completely clawing between both of them. So they conclude that it is an ordinary couple, and that they were only guided by the appearance they have. After that, they follow the next suspicious couple. But the same thing happens with them missing the last couple. Then they continue to the store where they enter, and to the losing sight of them, Mutsumi comes forward. However, San is not distracted when he sees that there are roses for sale, it being a good loving gift, thus capturing his attention. Shortly after, they end up in a cafe to keep an eye on that suspicious couple, and at that moment, Mutsumi leaves to go buy something. That's when Asano hears that guy tell the woman that he wants to show her a specially ordered object. Those words seem suspicious, and he prepares to take out his gun. But it turns out that this guy takes out an engagement ring, asking her to marry him, which she accepts. After seeing this, Asano collapses on the table because he has been walking around like Sumi all day and can't even find a partner or motto, wanting to make Mutsumi happy, even if it's just once. Suddenly, the couple of lovebirds from which they never suspected begins to argue a lot, generating a scandal. They reach the point where the two take out some weapons and are about to shoot each other moments later. All the people leave the store in a hurry, and at that point, Mutsumi is forced to leave by the crowd of people. Deflection, the shots begin to come out in all directions when they attack each other. So Asano ends up throwing themselves under the table on which a frightened child is. He ends up dropping his RZ to the ground, and one of the bullets, so she ends up damaging herself. This makes him quite angry, so without thinking twice, he draws the attention of those guys and then shoots them with his ray gun, leaving them instantly unconscious. Later, the police arrive and take them both away, and upon seeing that, CY congratulates Sano for this good work, remaining indebted to him. On the other hand, Kishiro is quite angry when he finds out that he sent him to an amusement park with Mutsumi-san, already upset to hear him complaining all over the house. Asino and Mutsumi get on the Ferris wheel, where he asks her why she wanted to get on that attraction. A little nervous, Mutsumi answers that she did it because couples who watch the sunset from the wheel will be happy forever. It's no use to give her the rose, explaining that the shooting left her in that state. But the flower is not too damaged, so it would be a shame to throw away. I wanted her to have a good time, to thank her for everything she does. But in the end, he couldn't do anything for her. After listening to it, saying that Mutsumi can't help but blush, and all nervously tells him that she didn't expect him to be so romantic. So she surprised him a little by taking the rice in her hands and letting him know that she is very happy, thanking him. And after that, they both finish holding hands. Wow, how daring, and nothing, just that. And that's how our episode ends today. To continue watching more exciting episodes, please subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell.